Hello and welcome to the Epicenter.com tutorials. In this tutorial I will explain you the basic structure of the Yi application. So in previous tutorial I explained you how to install Yi basic application template using Composer, and now let's go and concentrate a bit what is application, how application is structured, and so on and so on. So let us just repeat that the Yi framework is just MVC framework, which means Model View Controller Framework. And in next few minutes I will just try to explain what are these folders here you can see. So I will start with the first folder, which is called an assets folder. So what is assets folder? What is it inside? As you can see, we have one PHP file, but basically the asset is just a file which is referenced by the website. That can be a JavaScript file or CSS file, and so on and so on. And these files, Yi manages these assets using assets bundles, which means just more files which are referenced by the website. For example, you can reference jQuery, you can reference Bootstrap, you can reference other JavaScript libraries, and so on and so on. And then you can manage them using assets bundles. At the start, you don't have to bother yourself with this. Try first to understand what is the MVC structure and how you can handle it. But this is just to explain that these things are they are supported by the framework. Let us now explain what is this command folder and what we can find here. So Yi framework enable us to create two different kind of applications. One is a web application, which you will use most of your time, but Yi also enables us to create something which is called console application. If you are new to the PHP and the framework, then you will probably not use this console application, but if you are not, then the console applications can be used in order to write some things which should be done through console. For example, cron jobs, some specific script in order to manipulate the database, and so on and so on. And Yi actually enables us to write that everything inside one application. Usually I've seen in my career that people are writing cron jobs in separate file outside of the project, and they run it, and then maintenance of the project is really hard. This way you are actually writing everything inside one project, both the web application and console application. And what is the power of the Yi framework is actually you can access to any module, to any model of application inside these console applications. The third folder is configuration folder. As you can see, the configuration folder consists of 4 files. I will now explain you what is every file and what's the meaning of the file. So as you can see, inside the configuration folder you have a console file. If you enter this is just configuration for the console application. As I already explained, Yi consists. You can create console applications and web application, and you can see this file is used in order to configure console application, and the web configuration file is used in order to configure a web Yi application. What is inside this db.php? As you can see, inside this file you just have one array. This array defines a connection to the database, It's MySQL database. The database name is test, and these are the username and passwords for database connection. You will see how this file is later injected to the web application. Inside the parameters, here you can define something specific, for example, constant values. For example, the IP of your email server, or email address of your administrator, or email addresses of your web developers, or any specific information you want to access. As you will see, I will explain you can then access to these information from any controller, from any view, from any module, and so on and so on. And the last file inside configuration folder is called web. Here, as you can see, using this file, you are actually configuring your web application. So you see a lot of things here. You will ask yourself, what is this? How can I configure everything? And so on and so on. But in my next tutorial, I will explain you how you can actually configure your YE application, your web application, how you can manipulate these values, where you can find these values, how do you know what are the values, names, and so on and so on. But let me try just to explain you that YE applications, web application, consists of several components, and every component is managing a specific part of a job. For example, a request component is used in order to manipulate, so in order to handle the request. User component is used in order to enable a user to log in, to log out, and so on and so on. URL manager is used in order to create the URLs and otherwise, and vice versa. Log is used to log everything, and here it is. So here we have a component called database, and to component called database, we are actually injecting the content of the database, this database.php. If you enter this is just an array. So here we are returning an array to this database component. So actually we are defining inside YE application, we are defining database component with connection to MySQL, so to localhost, and we are trying to connect to the database name called test. So usually people are asking, okay, how can I connect to another database table or database, or how can I connect to a database on another server, and so on and so on. So basically it's really easy. So I can duplicate this line and say here, okay, this is database 1 and this is new database. Okay, if I want new database, then I can create a new database connection in another file. So I will copy and paste this database file. I will rename it to new database. Okay, I will put here now new database, and inside this new database I can say here now, okay, new database is not on localhost, it's on 10.00.10, and we are connecting to a database name called users. Maybe this database we are required to enter the password. For example, password is ABC. So what I actually did now is inside the components, I defined new component which is called database name, new database, and I injected the connection. So the connection, how to, I'm telling YFramework, okay, in order to connect to the new database, use configuration defined in a new database file, and everything is here. So this is how to connect and two databases, or which are, for example, on separate servers, and so on and so on. Of course, I can name this component something else, database 1. Okay. What is really cool is I can create now as much as I can database connections, and so on and so on. And a lot of people are asking me how I can access to any of these components. So these components, for example, how can you access the user component, how can you access the database, and so on and so on. I will explain you later, but let me try now to explain you what the last thing inside this config array is params. So to array key called params, we are actually injecting params array, which is defined here. Params array is just array we defined in a params file. So I can add here, for example, my email is, for example, code epicenter at gmail.com. And then a lot of people ask me, okay, how can I now access to any of these params? Well, in any controller, in any view, in any model or module, you can access to these params like this. So you have y, you say app. Now you can access to this params area like params, and then you can say, okay, inside the params I have my email, so I will just say my email, and here I will get, of course I have an error here because I'm not in a view or anywhere else, but it's just example. So here's how you can access values from this array here, from this params array. Okay, and now we have the last things here is, if we are in a development environment, we should enable debugging, and we are enabling G module. Be careful here, because you don't want to enable debugging when you are on production environment, because debugging takes some time and it can slow down your application. So when you are in production environment, please disable this. Also disable G module if you don't need it, and if you are, of course, on the production environment. The next folder is controllers. Inside this controller, the controllers folder, we are actually creating our controllers. For example, here we have now a side controller, but of course, if you want to add new controller, just add it inside this controller, inside this controllers folder. There is a folder called mail. Yi is really good framework, and people who created it, they thought about a lot of things, and for example, sometimes your application is sending email to your customers, right? But sometimes you wanna define specific mail layouts if you are sending email to your new customer, or if you are sending email to your subscribed customer, or if you are sending email only to your male customers or female customers, and so on and so on. And you can define layouts here for your emails, and this is really nice, because you can define layouts, then you can inject data in these layouts, so everything can be dynamic. Okay. So as I previously explained, Yi framework is a model view controller. Model view follows model view controller pattern. So in this models folder, you are actually creating your model files. Of course, we will talk about models more deeply later when we start a G module, and I will try to explain you how you can really easily develop some standard CRUD operations for your application, and so on and so on. Runtime, inside of this folder, you can see error messages and logs during application runtime. It can be a lifesaver when you have error on your production environment, because you can see what is happening with the application, what is wrong, so you can debug. This is really introduction to testing. So Yi framework 2 comes with the codeception tool, which is used for testing. So codeception enables you to make unit tests, functional tests, and unit test, functional test, and acceptance test. Of course, I encourage you to test your application always, because it's a nice way of doing things. And once you write your tests, and when you update your application, then you can just run your tests and see after updates, after published updates, whether everything is functioning as it's supposed to function. And inside the vendor folder, there is just the whole Yi framework files and everything. And of course, if you download some other libraries using Composer, they will reside here. Views, all the view files, they should be created inside the views folder. Of course, view folder contains a folder called layouts. Inside layouts, you can define layouts for your web application. For example, when user is logged in, you can use one layout. When user is logged out, then you can use another layout. If user has some specific access rule, then you can use third layout, and so on and so on. We will explain how you can change layouts per controller, how can you define which controller should use which layout. Even you can say this action inside the controller can use a specific layout, and so on and so on. And at the end, of course, there is a web folder. Inside the web folder, we have index.php, which is actually creating the Yi application itself, and it is used in order to load the configuration file and then inject this configuration file inside the application. So what is important here is important thing here, as you can see, is that from the configuration folder, web.php file is it's imported, then it is injected inside the application class. So everything you write inside configuration file will determine how this object will behave, and that is really important. In order to learn Yi framework, I really think that you should understand how to configure it, how to play with this configuration file, what every line means, and then you will understand the framework structure. And then if you have any kind of error, you can do something. If you don't understand how the framework is structured, if you don't understand how one request is executed, then I encourage you to do that, to read a bit and to understand what is happening. That of course, inside the web folder, this web folder should be a folder which is publicly accessible. Everything outside that folder should not be publicly accessible. And of course, inside this web folder you can now add your folders for your JavaScript files, for your CSS files, for your images, for uploading images, and so on and so on. So thank you for watching this tutorial. Please visit my website, codeepicenter.com. I'm trying to post every day some new kind of content, and I hope you learned something today. Thank you very much for watching.